The Vethrak training grounds on Sector Base Korath 7 were not built for humans. That much was obvious to Cadet Jiwon Park the moment he stepped off the transport shuttle and felt the gravity press down on him like a warm, familiar hand. 1.1 standard, barely different from Earth. The air was thick with mineral dust, the sky a bruised copper color, and the barracks smelled like something between burnt rubber and wet stone. None of it bothered him. What bothered him were the stairs. There were 43 cadets in the Joint Galactic Defense Initiative's inaugural mixed-species training cohort. 39 were Vethrak, tall, gray-skinned, four-armed soldiers from a civilization that had been waging organized warfare for 600 years. 2 were Durath, insectoid, and silent, who kept to themselves near the equipment racks. 1 was a Porathi, small and golden-furred, who had greeted Jiwon on arrival with genuine curiosity. And then there was Jiwon, the only human. He had known it would be like this. The Joint Initiative's mandate was integration, cooperation, the building of an interspecies defense force capable of responding to threats no single species could handle alone. Noble in theory. In practice, it meant Jiwon was the subject of open, unfiltered alien scrutiny from the moment he arrived. "That is the human?" he overheard a Vethrak cadet named Dravok say on the first morning of physical assessment. Dravok was massive even by Vethrak standards, nearly 2.5 meters tall, with a fighter's slouch and 4 arms that ended in broad, calloused hands. He did not bother to lower his voice. "It looks like a juvenile." Laughter moved through the nearby group. "They sent a soft one," another cadet said. Grath, his name was. He had a scar running from his jaw to his collarbone, and the kind of easy cruelty that came from never having been challenged. "No secondary limbs, fragile skeleton. I read the physiological brief. Their bones break under loads that a Vethrak child could carry." Jiwon set down his kit bag and looked at them. He didn't smile. He didn't frown. He just looked, the way his grandfather had taught him to look at things that were trying to intimidate him with patient, measuring eyes. "That one stares like it doesn't understand its situation," Dravok said. "Maybe it doesn't," Grath replied. "Humans are new. They haven't learned their place yet." Jiwon turned back to his bunk and began organizing his equipment. The first week was a full battery of assessments. Endurance runs, reflex tests, tactical simulations, weapons familiarization. Jiwon performed adequately on most of them, not brilliantly, not embarrassingly. The Vethrak cadets were faster on short sprints, stronger in raw lifts, and more instinctively aggressive in close-quarters simulations. Their 4 arms gave them a genuine mechanical advantage in weapon handling. They had been bred for this, in a cultural sense. Some of them had been training since they were old enough to walk. Dravok scored highest in the cohort on nearly every physical metric. He made sure everyone knew it. "The human is slow," he announced after a sprint assessment, loud enough for the training supervisors to hear. Jiwon had finished 4th. Not last, 4th. But Dravok seemed to find this personally offensive. "It finished behind 3 of us with minor injuries. This is the species that applied for a combat role? Huh." Jiwon drank from his water canister and said nothing. "It was the Parathi cadet Sovi," she told him later, who spoke up. "He finished the course," she said. Her voice was light, almost musical, but her golden eyes were sharp. "That counts." "Finishing is not winning," Dravok said. "In real combat, finishing 4th means 3 of your squad mates are already dead." "In real combat," Jiwon said quietly, without looking up, 4th place still means something to the person who finishes." Dravok looked at him for a long moment. Then he walked away. The weapon arrived on the 8th day. It was called a Kethmaur, a Vethrak crew support cannon designed to be operated by 2 soldiers, one to carry, one to aim and fire. In a pinch, a single Vethrak could manage it, but only the physically elite attempted it, and only for short durations. The thing was enormous, 1.5 meters of dense alloy barrel, a reinforced cooling housing, and a power cell housing at the rear that alone weighed roughly 40 kilograms. Total loaded weight, 100 112 kilograms. It was the pride of the Vethrak armory, a symbol, in their culture, of what a warrior's body was meant to accomplish. Training supervisor Orath had brought it out as a demonstration of crew weapon coordination. The cadets would observe, then attempt a basic static hold exercise, simply raising the weapon to firing position and maintaining it for 30 seconds. No one was expected to manage it alone. The exercise was about teamwork. Drevak, of course, volunteered first. He lifted the Kethmar with 2 of his 4 arms and held it steady for the full 30 seconds. The room was respectfully quiet. Even Jiwan acknowledged, internally, that it was impressive. Drevak set it down with a controlled thud and looked directly at Jiwan. Perhaps the human would like to observe from a safe distance, he said. We would not want an injury report on the first equipment day. Several cadets laughed. Supervisor Orath said nothing, watching. Sovi glanced at Jiwan with something between concern and curiosity. He gave her a small nod, the kind that means, "Times I've got this," times in a way that crosses most language barriers, and walked to the center of the floor. He looked at the Kethmauer for a moment. He crouched, set his hands, and adjusted his grip the way his father had taught him to grip a deadlift bar, not white-knuckled and desperate, but settled, like he was shaking hands with the weight. Then he stood up. The room went quiet, in a different way than it had been quiet for Drevik. Drevik's silence had been admiring. This was something else. This was the silence of recalibration. Jiwan raised the Kethmor to firing position. His arms shook, not from weakness, but from the fine muscle engagement of stabilization, the kind of shake that meant every fiber was working exactly as it should. He set his feet, found his center, and held it. 1 second, 10, 20. At 25 seconds, Grath made a sound, not a laugh, not a word, just a low exhalation of breath, the kind that escapes when something does not go the way you expected. 30 seconds. Jiwan lowered the weapon to the floor with control. No thud. Controlled descent, all the way down. He straightened and looked at Supervisor Orath. "Do you want me to repeat the exercise?" Orath stared at him. The 4-armed Vethrak commander had spent 30 years training soldiers. He had seen a lot. His expression right now was the careful neutrality of someone rapidly updating a set of assumptions. "No, Cadet Park. That will not be necessary." Jiwan walked back to his position in the line. Drevik said nothing for the rest of that training session. Neither did Grath. It was Sovi who fell into step beside Jiwan on the walk back to the barracks. "How?" she asked, simply. "Humans have been lifting heavy things for a long time," Jiwan said. "Not because we were born strong, because we had to figure out how to be strong. There's a difference." She considered that. "You have no secondary limbs. Your frame is narrower. The physics should not." "We're Deathworlders," he said. It came out simply, without pride or performance, just a statement of fact. Most species don't fully read what that means. Our gravity is high. Our atmosphere is active. Our predators were big. We didn't evolve into a comfortable world. We survived an uncomfortable one. That leaves marks on a species, on the bones, on the muscles. One, on the way we think about weight. Sovi was quiet for a moment. Drevak will not apologize. "I know. Does that bother you?" Jiwan thought about it honestly. "Not really. I didn't come here to make him apologize. I came here to do the work." She looked at him, really looked, the way the Porathi did when they were trying to understand something. "And if they keep underestimating you?" Jiwan almost smiled. "Then they keep giving me chances to demonstrate." That night, in the barracks, Drevak sat on his bunk and said nothing for a long time. Then he spoke, not to anyone in particular, and not loudly. "The physiological brief," he said, "was incomplete." No one argued with him. Across the room, Jiwan lay on his back and stared at the copper-colored ceiling and thought about the next assessment, the next exercise, the next day. He was not angry. He was not triumphant. He was just getting started.